In last week's video we did the front brakes and front discs and pads. This week we're doing the rears. Now for me it's the same day. There are proper ways of doing this. You're supposed to plug in the diagnostics and unmount the electric handbrake. I'm not going to do that. I'll explain that as we're going. Not everybody's got access to the diagnostic gear to do that. We can do that with the gap tool, and I think I can do it with the iCarsoft. I've not checked, but there's a setting on there where you can go in. Basically it disables the handbrake and does something, because the handbrake shoes are inside this rear disc. So we're going to take it all off. Now these rear discs have worn, they've got a lip on them, but you'll find with a lot of these Range Rovers people tend not to use the handbrake very often. Parking brake, handbrake, for you over in the States, the e-brake. So what happens, the handbrake shoes get adjusted out on the service because the inside of the drum wears, the shoes wear, so you adjust the shoes out to the drum. So when you want to come to take your disc off, the shoes, there's like a lip on the inside of the disc, which is sort of like a drum, and because the shoes have been adjusted out past that lip, you'll have a job getting the disc off. So that's why you normally slacken the adjuster off to bring your shoes back in, take your disc off, put your new disc on, adjust up your shoes again. You wind it down on the adjuster till they go tight, and then you wind it back a couple of clicks till it moves, and they're adjusted up then. I've already done the other side and we didn't need to do that. I think this car's such low mileage, and the brakes, there was no lip on the inside of the old disc. There was a lip on the braking part of it, but really quite straightforward. Unbolt the caliper, unbolt the Caliper Carrier, 6mm Allen bolt on the disc again, disc off, new disc back on. Job is a good one. So let's crack on. 13mm bolt holds the caliper on. We won't need to use those because I've got new ones with the pads. Take that off, put it up there out the way. There's the pads. Now there's no wear indicator on this side, that's on the other side. But there's the pads. That's the new ones. Now this Caliper Carrier is held onto the thing with 18mm bolts. Oh dear. That's that off. I've got new clips for there, but we'll clean that up in a minute. 6mm Allen bolt. Make sure it goes all the way in there. This cover here is where you turn it round and your adjusters at the bottom I don't think I'm going to need that. I need to do that, so I'm just going to give the disc a couple of gentle taps, because it does move quite freely, but there you go. See, what happens is it gets a lip on the inside of there, so when your shoes have been adjusted out, they get on the inside of the lip, so when you try pulling your disc off, they get caught on that lip. There is no lip on the inside of this. There's a lot of brake dust and crap, but yeah, so that's all good. I'm just going to give these a bit of a clean up. We'll clean up the disc and get that put back on. These are really quite good, so if they was a little bit rough or shiny, I would rough them up with a bit of sandpaper, but they're not. Right, take the new disc. They always come coated, so you're going to want to clean them. I'm going to clean up the inside. So I've cleaned up the inside of the like the drum part. I'm just going to clean the inside edge of the disc. It's just to get any wax coating or anything like that off. Then what I should do is put the disc back on and then clean the outside of it. So that to me is a good tight fit. Put 6mm bolt back in. Now again, on the front, 16 Newton meters, 12 foot-pounds. My torque wrench doesn't go down that low, so common sense, just nip it up. Doesn't need to go tight. I'm going to put this little bung back in because I don't need to adjust the shoes on this one. Get a bit more kitchen towel. Just clean the outside of the disc now. These bits can come out. Just going to clean up there, wire brush. They just clip in there. They're nice and free. If they was a bit sticky, I'd pull them out, clean them up, bit of copper grease. So we'll get that bolted back on. Try and push this piston back now. They just push straight back in, they're not wind back ones or anything like that. Might just take a bit of getting moving. Once they start going, it's quite easy. Just try and get them to push back in square. So if you get them get them sort of cockeyed, they tend, obviously on the piss, you'll have a job. New set of pads. Going to put copper grease on the mating surfaces where it moves and slides. Nice and free, lovely jubbly. And what I tend to do is just put a little bit of copper grease on the caliper where it touches the pad, on the back of it and on the piston. It's just a bit of anti-seize, keeps things all nice for later on. Two new bolts that come with the pads. So before you start this, always take the top of the master cylinder off, the brake master cylinder, because when you push the pistons back, it's going to push fluid back up to the master cylinder. You don't want it all spraying out everywhere. So I always just take the lid off, do one side at a time. Always remember to pump your brakes before you set off, because I've seen it happen a few times. Somebody's fitted new brakes on the car, gone to drive it out of the workshop, no brakes, and they run into something. We've been doing it. I've had the Hobbit jumping in there and just pumping the brakes just to settle the pads for every one that I've done. So I'll get this wheel on, we'll pump the pads, get everything settled in, and then we'll go for a little drive up the road. Before you set off, pump your pedal. As I said before, it's a nice solid pedal. It's an in and out drive. We're just turning round. So far so good, there's no funny noises coming out of the car. Come on away. I'll see you in a minute. New brakes, so you want to be careful. We'll take it nice and steady. Now what I normally do when I've got put new brakes on is the first couple of applications I'll just get it up to speed, up to about 30-40 miles an hour, then just brake hard. Not hard, emergency stop hard, but just make sure that everything's all settling in. I'll just get around this corner so I can see where I'm going. So get it up to about 30 miles an hour and just brake hard. Make sure there's nothing behind you, of course. I'm just going to do that again. Just get it up to, just get it rolling, 50 kilometers an hour. Just brake hard. Make sure it pulls up in a straight line, which it does. There's no noises, nothing. So once I've done that a couple of times, it's just trying to avoid heavy braking for a couple of 100 miles. And that'll just bed the brakes in. If you get your pads too hot when they're new, they'll glaze over and they'll go like glass, and you won't have a very good pedal. I can already tell the pedal is better now than it was before. There's no play in it. There's a lot of bite at the top. French junctions, you can never see what's coming. They always put signs and stuff on the corner. So now it's just going to be a case of driving it as normal, try to avoid heavy braking, and the brakes will bed themselves back in. So that's basically it. The job is done. The car is driving in a straight line. It feels a bit more responsive on the steering because we've swapped the wheels front to back, and the pedal's really good now. Before there was like quite a lot of travel in the pedal before the brakes actually started doing so. Now at the time the TD6 brakes were quite good. Now when we got this car there was always a little bit of travel in the pedal, and I just put that down to being, this is the 2010 and it's got the funny brakes, but so just brake nice and gently. No need to, obviously if you need to do an emergency stop, fair enough, but it feels good. There's no funny noises. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I've got a video coming up where we've nearly had this for 3 years, so it'll be my yearly how much it's cost to run the Range Rover. This year's going to be slightly more expensive. We've just done all the brakes and the servicing, so that'll be interesting for you. But that'll be coming up shortly. So I hope you like this video. Please give it a big thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.